All right, so for this video, we're gonna do a little something different. We are going to show everybody how to build a patio, and hopefully it goes according to plan. I watched a lot of videos online, and I think that I have enough material to build this successfully. So I figured I'll use all that knowledge and make one video and show you guys how to build something in the backyard. We're gonna be doing a 14 by 24 paver patio. Yeah, so let's flip it around here for a second. So this is the area we've marked off. I'm about to measure it all out. You can see the rough marks here, the corners of it, and it's going to extend all over here. There's already holes. It's from our beautiful dog over here, Khaleesi. Khaleesi, come here. You want to say something to the camera? You want to say hello? Want to say you're responsible for all those holes? Yeah, I know you do. All right, so first step is going to be marking off the exact dimensions of this. So as I said, we have rough estimates here, but what we want to do is we're going to go 14 feet up this way and 24 feet up this way. Key here is going to be to mark them with stakes, and we're going to edge it, but you want to make sure that this corner and that corner over there is the same length as that corner right there and that corner right there. That way we know we have a perfect rectangle. So we're gonna mark that first and then we'll be back. Okay, so we've marked off the corners so far and everything is straight. So for this, I just used some stakes to nail into the ground, and we eyeballed it to make sure it was straight from far back. So if you look at it from this angle, if we're centered on, that's exactly what it's going to look like. So it's 14 by 24. I used twine, a couple stakes, and that was a measuring tape, and that was really it, just to make sure everything works out. Okay, this is the end of day one. We edged all the corners after we spray painted the lines to make sure it was even. You can see here that that's a lot of work, digging that down. Has to go down 6 inches, so we're just focusing on getting rid of the sod first, and then we're going to take a flat shovel and smooth it out. Once all the dirt's gone, we're going to be compacting it. Day 2, we're out here, we're still digging, getting some work done. If you look over here in the corner, what we're looking to do is make it very flat with 6-inch depth. So I have a flat shovel over here, and I measured it out 6 inches deep, and I'm trying to keep that evenly throughout the entire way. So you can see a lot of this is just dirt that's left over after I took the grass out, and we're gonna make our way that way. So, and there's one of our workers, there's 2 of our workers. Okay, we are 2 days into the project at this point. We basically spent all that time getting rid of the grass, the top layer of grass, which was a huge pain, but we're pretty much done with that part, and we're trying to even it out now. I'm gonna turn this around. You guys can take a look and see what it looks like now. The back corner here, what we ended up doing was taking a shovel and evening that out. Might have been in one of the previous clips of this video too. So it's a little bit deeper than 6 inches actually, which is fine. We're gonna put a layer of stone down to cover that up. So if I go down a little bit lower, you can kind of see a little bit of how deep that is. But yeah, the grass is gone, and there's a huge pile of it. If we look way down there, see if we can zoom in on that. That is a lot of sod. Okay guys, so day 4, what I think is day 4 at least. We had a couple of days of rain, so we couldn't get out here and shovel, but we finally finished it. So let's take a look and see what we have here. As you can see, this is the 14 by 24 foot patio. We have dug down about 6 inches. My lawn is a little bit uneven, so in areas, what I realized halfway through was in some of these areas, if I were to go straight across, I would end up with a much shallower hole. So I aimed for the smallest common denominator, which was over in this corner over here. So that's about 6 inches here. But if you look over on that side, that's probably about a foot. And it's just because that side of the lawn is higher than it is over here. So I needed to make sure that I have enough leeway in order to lay the stone and get at least 6 inches of gravel in there, plus the sand, plus the paver, and still have it flush with the rest of the lawn. So yeah, what else? If you look over here, we ended up with a lot of loam. Honestly, there's a lot of manual labor involved in this project. That's just the loam that we pulled out, the topsoil. What else? There's really no tips and tricks. I would say when you're digging this out and you're trying to make it even, use a pickaxe to loosen it up. It helps a lot, and you can makes the shoveling a lot easier. You'll also run into a lot of roots and whatnot. I trimmed those with some hedge clippers and made sure that they were all clean around the side, and then raked them up. That's what you see here, all the rake marks. Other than that, I mean, really just using a flat shovel and making your way all the way across the area is the best way to do it. And yeah, it is a lot of work. So, okay. This is the end of day 5, I believe. We just put in another couple hours worth of work. A couple things to go over here. Let's start in the front, actually. So we're gonna loop out over here. So when we were talking earlier, we were going over the stuff to put down as the base. So you have a gravel foundation. This is 3/4 inch crushed stone. I ended up getting for there's a calculation that you can find online for the exact yardage that you're going to need. I ended up going with 3 yards plus 1 to fill in some other spots around the house. I think it's going to be just about spot on. But you can follow that. That's what the crushed stone looks like. Over here we have the sand. Obviously this doesn't look like your average play sand and what you'd see on the beach, but apparently it lets moisture pass through a lot better. So they called it, I believe it was play sand? Playground sand, yeah. Which looks nothing like stuff you'd see on the playground, but so we ended up getting 1 yard of that. There's a formula online. It's the same formula to figure out the depth that you're going to need for the 1 inch layer of that. Okay, so coming back, there is some surprising math that I didn't get done before I filmed this. So from the last time you saw it, we just had the hole, but one of the things you need to account for is slope. Luckily, in my yard, I got kind of lucky with the calculations. My backyard naturally slopes. So what you want to have is about 1/8 of an inch for every 1 foot of horizontal patio. If you do that out for my particular patio with 14 feet, that's going to be a 1 3/4 inch slope from this side to this side. So when you're digging the hole, this side should naturally be about, you know, whatever your calculation is. Mine needs to be 1.75 inches higher here than it is over here. So if I'm digging a 6-inch hole over here and it's sloping down, my hole over here should be about 7 3/4 deep. Now, I did not do that. So what I ended up having to do afterwards was go around, and I think this will apply to the vast amount of people. When you're digging the hole, you're not going to be able to exactly stay, you know, at 6 to 7 inches deep. You're going to have places that are deeper than others, and I think that's okay. When you're going to be evening it out, you're evening it out now. So what I ended up doing, I'm going to show you guys how I did this with string and yarn. You'll see I bought all these wooden stakes, and what I did was I marked them off so in sections. So think of this as side A, this is side B, this is side C, and this is side D. So and then I named the stakes 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. So for example, if this is side A, A1, A2, B1, B2, B3, B4. And what I did was I went to each of these spots and measured the depth of each individual spot to get a good understanding of how this whole thing looks on a slope basis. That's going to be really important, because when you're doing out these calculations, you need to make sure that you have a 4-inch base layer on all sides, and it has to account for the depth over here. So for mine, what I ended up doing was take all of these stakes, and I wanted to make sure they were all starting at the same level in the ground. So I marked on the stakes 5 inches up, and that was where when I hit them into the ground, it was going, we were only going to dig it in 5 inches. So each of these should start at the exact same spot. And then what I did was I marked 4 inches up from that point. So I had a line at 4 inches, so I knew 4 inches over here is going to look different than 4 inches over here. because I've already accounted for that slope that should be coming in. So when you do all that out, you end up with, you have all your stakes on the side of the ground, and you tie one string to where your 4 inches is on this side to where your 4 inches should be on this side, and pull it very taut. So when you look at it from an angle and you start to fill in the hole here, you have a good idea of what the depth should be across the entire thing. That's gonna be really the shape of your finished patio. But this is the point where you're making sure that that patio is completely level. So now you have a level surface. As I said before, the bottom of this, the dirt that you're digging, is not going to be completely even. So this is your chance now to kind of start to even that out. And by using these strings and this rope, that's how you're going to be able to do that. What else? I ended up, I went with a compactor this morning. I went to Home Depot, I rented it, it was $62 for 4 hours. It probably took me 10 minutes to do this. So I was to and from Home Depot in an hour, and I probably used the thing for 10 minutes. Everybody that I've talked to, and the other part was when I actually compacted it, it didn't move at all. So everybody says you should compact it. I would say fine. I mean, you should, I guess, based on everything that I've read. I also heard that when you're laying these foundations, because it's 4 inches deep, you should do 2 inches of crushed gravel here, compact that, and then do your other 2 inches and compact that. I talked to a guy today at Home Depot, and he said that if you're doing that, really the only reason to do that is if you're going to be having cars drive on it, and there's going to be enormous amounts of weight. For people just walking on it, it probably isn't going to be a very big deal. Yeah, this is easily the most complex part so far that I've found with this whole thing. The other part is, when you're filling in this base here, it's really not that bad. It goes a lot faster than when you're digging out that sod and dirt. That part just sucks. So I'm going to sign off from this part of the video now, but what you can expect is I'm going to continue to put more crushed rock in here. I'm going to rake it out to make it smooth so that these strings are just barely sitting across the top. We're going to bring a compactor in. We're going to compact it down to make it nice and smooth, and then we're going to put 1 inch of that play sand that you saw earlier on the top layer, and we're not compacting that because that's going to be the bed for the actual pavers. All right, so we'll get back to you then. All right, so we're getting towards the end of the project, and our pavers have arrived. There's polymeric sand in there, which is going to be used to hold the stones together. I went through and did a pallet today, so let's go take a look and see what we did and what it's starting to look like. So here's the area over here, and once we used the compactor to get it nice and flat, you can kind of see what we did was we came in and started off with the restraints. The restraints are really helpful in keeping that corner 90-degree edge so you have something to work with. So we bought our restraints from this company that supplied the pavers here. Made a 90-degree angle all the way down, and then what we ended up doing was just using that and laid the very first row straight across. Now, actually I should back up for a second here. You can't put the first layer down until you have the sand down. So what I did was I took a piece of pipe that you can see on the side of the fence. I had an extra one of these chain link fence pipes. I laid that down and made our first layer of sand, and then used, because those are about 1 inch thick, and then used that as a guide, and then made a very level layer of sand. And then as I did one row, I started with only one. I used the rake and kept that same height for the sand, and I would just rake a row, put a row down, rake a row, put a row down, and I just kept going and going. So you can see here where I kind of stopped. I have some extra sand here. I'm about to run out. I'll go back and get some from the front of the yard, and I'll just keep extending that all the way down, and we'll just build our way all the way backwards. We're definitely going to have some extra stone left over based on the measurements. I made this a little bit too big, and my hole, you can see on the side actually what ended up happening. It's really hard to get things straight, so my measurements ended up coming out a little bit off. So we're actually probably like 3 inches maybe as a drop into this patio when it's going to be done. So we're going to be lining it with rock. So yeah, so next time I check in, I'm going to probably have all of this done, and we'll go over the polymetric sand. All right, we are on day 6, I think. I don't know, 5 or 6, and we finished making the patio look good. So let's take a look at it. This is, we finished putting the pavers down, and then I put the restraints in around the rest of the edges, nailed them in, put a couple extra nails in, and then took the leftover sand from the bedding layer and just went around it one more time. I figure if rain comes down, we're gonna get some water will come through, and I don't want it running off and underneath down here and washing the base away. So I just made sure that I had enough layer of sand all around the outside. So right now we have Kelly putting down the polymeric sand. The bag that we had said 1/8 of an inch deep. So you can see in some of these, for example right here, take a look at how high those we filled in those cracks with. I don't think it necessarily needs to be that big, but we have the extras, so we're going to use it. Yeah, so we're just going to be sweeping this in, and then once that's done, water it for 30 seconds in each area, let it dry for 15 minutes, and that's going to be it. What we're going to end up doing is putting out some patio furniture, and then on the sand here around the edges, I'm going to go to Home Depot. I'm going to buy some stone, some crushed stone, and lay that around it, and yeah, that should finish up the project. So I'll give you a snapshot when we're done.